Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for joining us from Planet, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain in the United States of America, here on worldviewtube.com and also on Spreely TV. Ladies and gentlemen, head on over to those platforms and check us out. You can also watch me on all of my social media platforms live. I mean, we're talking X, Rumble, YouTube, Locals, Facebook. I mean, check them out. Check us out over there. But pay particular attention to worldviewtube.com and TV. Also, during today's show, 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404. Taking your calls today, standing with you shoulder to shoulder as I distribute to you, free of charge, intellectual maturity. Ladies and gentlemen, you become the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land for watching this show. And all I ask in return is that you go over to DougBillings.us, DougBillings.us. Support us over there, support the show, and we will make it happen together because we are in this together. Today on the show coming up, we're going to have young up-and-coming podcaster Alex Stone, the nephew of Roger Stone. You're gonna love hearing from this guy, this young kid. This almost like a son to me. He's a friend. Lives just down the road here in the fruited plain and in the Republic. Also later in the program, Missouri governor candidate Bill Eigel coming up. So make sure, tell your friends who live in Missouri. You're going to want to listen to Bill Eigel. And if you live anywhere else in the Republic, you're going to want to listen to both of these guests. Alex Stone, for his young Christian perspective, a really, really well-spoken. Now, look, no offense because he's going to be on the show, but he is 100 million times better live and in person. Wait till you see this kid on stage if you ever get to one of his events. And talking about being a natural-born speaker, Bill Eigel, a member of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, a key candidate for the governorship in the state of Missouri. And for all of you outside of Missouri looking for a template about what a governor should be, I encourage you to follow Bill Eigel because he is that, a template for a true conservative American governor. He's going to turn Missouri into the next Florida in as much as how freedom will rain down upon Missourians. And I can't wait to have him on the show towards middle of next hour to talk with you and for you to call in to the program for both of these people, 901-316-8404. So if you are watching this on social media platforms, please like the program, share it, subscribe, follow, all of the usual stuff, the usual routine, so we can get the word out. You don't get the truth that you hear here in the legacy media. You just don't get it. We are all about the truth. So today, of course, the truth, the Hunter Biden case. We can't not talk about that, even for just a moment. So now, again, free speech, and I'm going to exercise my point of view and my opinion here. I think that it's a forced outcome, today's verdict. I think that the justice system was forced to do this. When I use the word forced, put it in quotations, this was all coordinated, I think. And it wanted they want, the far left, they want the justice system so badly to seem fair and balanced. Daddy is going to pardon Hunter, even though Joe said that he wouldn't. He will pardon Hunter. Just watch. And it will probably happen on the morning of January 20th, 2025, just as Biden is leaving office and as President Trump is preparing to arrive. So watch it. Watch for it. You heard it here first. Pardon coming. And even if he doesn't pardon, don't forget about the word commute. You might commute the sentence as well. It's also on the table. It is very much on the table. So, and you know what? As I look at the verdict today and I think about this whole Hunter Biden episode, I'm just not a fan of the way that the Justice Department went about getting Hunter Biden. I mean, lying on a form in order to purchase a gun. I know it's a crime to do that. Tax evasion rather than murder or extortion and racketeering. You know what I mean? So I could really care less. I don't. First of all, I just don't think it has a lot of meat to it. And so what? So what? I know they're a crime family. I know it. But all of that aside, I am not a believer that any law-abiding citizen, of which, of course, we know Hunter is not. Hunter is not a law-abiding citizen. We know that. But for those of us who are, there should be no law-abiding citizen who has to fill out what amounts to basically a permission slip in order to purchase a firearm in America. The only permission slip I need to purchase a firearm is the Constitution of the United States. And the words shall not be infringed are important. They mean something. They mean that nothing, not a permission slip, not a prerequisite test, nothing should stand in the way of and the key words, nothing should stand in the way of a law-abiding citizen from the right to bear arms. I am not in favor of giving felons firearms or dangerous criminals firearms. I went out, I bought my very first firearm 5 or 6 years ago, bought another one a couple of months ago. We're going to gather the arsenal, folks, and ammunition. And I bet you are too. We have the right to do it, and we shouldn't have to fill out a permission slip. And you know what else I think about this, and I think it's interesting. I posted this on the social media platforms today. Folks on Truth Social just thought I was a kook, but I'm going to explain. Sometimes people don't think things through. They just react to the initial post, and they don't really think things through. But what I said was that President Trump could steal the news cycle and steal the thunder away from all of this if he would announce, President Trump, that he would pardon Hunter on his first day in office. Now, I know a lot of people out there go, what? Why would we pardon a member of the Biden crime family, Doug? You got to be crazy. Okay, hang on. It's because of what I just told you about this whole, it's not this charge that they got Hunter on. So the hell what? All right. So that there are bigger fish to fry. And then we could focus on going after the real crimes of the Biden crime family. But more importantly, it steals the news cycle away from them. Trump appears as if he's going to bestow mercy. I mean, it could mean a whole plethora of things as far as public relations go. And so think about it is all. Wouldn't it be interesting? President Trump comes out and says, I'm gonna pardon Hunter Biden day one. I just think about it. Think about it. I think also that we have to remind ourselves that we have a 4-to-1 margin of the majority in this country with regards to conservative versus liberal. The liberal kooks do not come close to matching our numbers. Now, I know that the media makes it appear as if they're the majority. They make a lot of noise. They own the media. They own the entertainment industry. So they make a lot of noise. And it might cause us to think that are there really more of them than there are of us? No. Don't give yourselves permission to believe that we are the majority, because that's the truth. And we can see it in President Trump's poll numbers. We can see him continue to surge throughout all of this nonsense that he's been facing. And the temporary, keyword temporary, verdict that was dealt to him. And the radical left, I always love it when they have their meltdowns. It's so easy to trigger them. You watch them on the legacy media, you watch them on social media. They're feeding on this verdict of Trump's, aren't they? Talked a little bit about this yesterday. Imagine to be so daft as to relish and comment upon as if it's permanent, and it's not, a temporary conviction. No, not at all. Not at all permanent, not at all. We have a lot of hope in this country. Trump is on the rise. Conservatism is on the rise. We're going to talk about that in the program as well. Across the planet. When we come back, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you and talk to you about the rise of conservatism across the country. We also have young Alex Stone, up-and-coming Christian podcaster, coming up as soon as we come back from the break. Bill Eigel, governor, candidate, state of Missouri. He's going to be with us a little bit later. Phone number 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404. Call now. Get in the queue. WorldViewTube.com, Spreely TV, and DougBillings.us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back after you take this glorious excursion into capitalism. Cheers.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. TWC.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. TWC.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs. And you have to be a member to get that advantage.
Back to the right side with Doug Billings. We meet over here always in determined prayer, determined patriotism. That's what we do. We're all about that. DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm awfully proud of the new website layout that we have over there at DougBillings.us. Check us out. Make sure that you look through it. The parts of it are still under construction. Have a little bit of patience with me. But key among what I want to show you is the donate now and the way to support the program. I always tell you, wherever I am meeting you people across the country, you're the most important people out there. You're the remnant. You're the patriots that the founding fathers thought of with regards to getting involved in local levels of government to take back the republic from the hands of tyranny. We're certainly faced with all of that as we live and breathe today in our republic. And my show is one of the beacons of truth, light, and hope out there. And I just would appreciate your support if you feel so moved. DougBillings.us, all sorts of things over there, health products. I'll have a blog up there eventually where we can talk to each other. You can send me messages. I can reply back and so forth. But very proud of it and happy that thing is turning around. Spreely TV, also one of our sponsors. Check out Spreely TV. And, of course, coming to you primarily on the WorldViewTube.com platform. But as always, I make myself available everywhere. Check out my social media platforms as well. Twitter, X. I got to get over that habit. I bet you all do that too. X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Locals, Truth Social. all of them. So make sure that you check us out. Like, subscribe, follow, you know the drill. So my first guest, and reminding you that our phone number is 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. We've got Alexander Stone. Alex, my friend, my son, how are you?
Doug Billings, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm glad to be here. I always love talking to you. I always love listening to your show. So thank you so much for having me on.
Well, hey, look, we've known each other for a few years now. I can't remember the exact time we met, but you live just down the road from me here in the Fruited Plain, and you're like a son to me. And if anybody knows anything about me, I'm all about what in corporate America we used to call the succession plan. We've got to have people coming up through the pipeline to take our place when we retire or when we're gifted with the ability to go to heaven. So, and you are in that succession plan, young, up and coming, strong, Christian, conservative. And man, when I invited you to come to the Determined Patriotism Conference that we held in Branson, Missouri, I had been on your show, you had been on mine, I have watched your show, and I always thought it was good. But when you took that stage, Alex, you lit it up. You are on fire. And I'm not just blowing sunshine under your hat. That you're truly one of the best young speakers I've ever seen. So cheers to you.
Well, Doug, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. God has gifted me and talented me with the ability to speak and speak publicly. I'm better on stage, as you said, than I am with podcasting. There's a learning curve when it comes to that. But really, Doug, my mission is to spread the light of the gospel into every aspect of life. And you know, I'm able to do that through my show, The Alex Stone Show. Then I'm also able to do that through preaching and teaching of the Word of God. I'm a youth pastor in the North Kansas City area. And I love using the gifts and talents that God has gifted me with to be able to share his word and to tell the people the truth. Because like you said, like you talk about, we need a succession plan. And I am honored to be part of that succession plan. But there are more Generation Zers out there that need to get involved, that need to wake up, that need to realize what is actually going on behind the scenes, that the devil is pulling the strings behind the scenes, and we need to wake people up to it. We need to help people realize what is actually going on so they can march forward in freedom, so they can march forward in truth, so they can march forward in righteousness and godliness, so that we can save America and take America back to what it once was, what the founding fathers envisioned it to be a land of beauty and bounty for freedom, liberty, and justice for all.
You resonate with a lot of people out there, Alex. And before we go any further, I want you to tell us, where can we find you online?
Well, Doug, I appreciate that. You guys can find me on X at Stone J Alex, and you can also find me on Rumble, The Alex Stone Show. I took a little bit of a couple-month break due to some just different scenarios going on in my life, but I'm back now and doing interviews and doing reaction videos and that kind of stuff. So The Alex Stone Show on Rumble, and then X is Stone J Alex.
We part of our new format over here, Alex. This is the second day of our new live format where we take callers, and people can call in 901-316-8404, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you call in and get in queue. We do have a caller. Alex, you want to take one with me? Certainly. We have Ed from Florida calling in. Let's go. Ed, welcome to the right side.
Good afternoon. I have a thought in mind and a question. First time I saw you on TV was last night with Brandon House, so I'm glad to meet you.
Thank you.
As we know, President Trump will be sentenced in his 34-count deal, probably with prison, on the 11th of July. There could be something else, but I'd say there's probably a 95% chance that's what he's going to get. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because yesterday on the inaugural show here, I had General Flynn and Eric Trump on the program, and I put it to them. Let me give just a brief backdrop. You look at the radical left mob, and Alex, I'll give you a chance to give your opinion on this too. The radical left liberal mob since Trump took office. The Resist movement was born. They have been doing everything they can do since 2016, since he came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, to get him off the ballot, to impede him, to challenge him, to ruin him. They've done everything they can possibly do. So what we've seen in the recent weeks is the culmination of that. These 34 counts up in New York, all bogus, all temporary, by the way. He's a felon. And President Trump is now a felon. But ladies and gentlemen, it's temporary. It is going to be overturned on appeal. Now, the sentencing date. If any of us think out there that the radical left mob is just going to say, oh, good, they're just going to say, okay, wash our hands. We got him. It's good. We're good to go. If we think that they're going to let it go, we're nuts. They're going to put him in jail. That's my opinion. I think they're going to put him in jail. They not only want him to be the first former president to be convicted, they want him to be the first former president to sit in a jail cell. Now, they've already made him a political martyr. And if they put him in jail, I'm telling you, we need 1 million or more people to gather in New York City in the streets peacefully, and millions of people in other key cities around the republic. So, Ed, that's what I think. Let me just briefly give our friend Alex here a chance to reply to the question. Alex, what do you think?
Well, I'm not a legal scholar by any means, but I see what is actually going on. We all know that this is a sham of a trial. Someone I had on my show a couple of years ago, her name is Chris Ann Hall. She's an attorney, and she put on X a couple weeks ago. She says, I am an experienced criminal trial attorney. Every judge I know is simply neurotic about being overturned. I can tell you for a fact that Judge Merchan is not trying to avoid being overturned on appeal. He's running straight at it intentionally, like a runaway freight train. The obvious question is why? The answer should be obvious, because Merchan is not trying to convict Trump forever. This is just about the next 4 months. That's all he needs. You can quote me on that, and we are quoting Chris Ann Hall on that. Listen, President Trump has done nothing wrong. And if he gets time in jail, like Doug said, there's going to be so many people who are going to show up in his support. He's already had so much support, even with the conviction. He's raised over 500 million since then. He went on TikTok and he's gained over 6 million followers since his conviction. President Trump isn't going anywhere, even if he goes to jail.
Ed, how does that strike you?
It just leads into my next suggestion. This is 2 days before, approximately, I don't know the exact date, the RNC nomination convention, whatever you call that. I forget.
Yep, the RNC National Convention.
I forget everything.
Yep.
So how can you have your nomination of the guy that can't even come there because he's in prison? That gives the deep state characters of the uniparty that are very powerful in that convention a possible way to pick somebody else, a big excuse to pull the rug out from under President Trump. And my suggestion is, if I was a big guy in charge of stuff, which I'm not anymore, I would just move the damn convention up, excuse my language, 4 days. Get it over with, get him nominated, and let them see what putting you in prison does.
Yep. Ed, you have a great future as a member of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. You're exactly right. I have said that myself. In fact, right after the verdict, I said, hey, let's move the RNC, the convention, to July 4th, Independence Day. Let's do it. And we have Trump there. We make it all part of independence, of our founding, and so forth and so on, the nation's birthday, one of the most substantial presidents in the history of our republic, Donald Trump, and we nominate him. Okay, I think you're spot on. I think they should. And after last night's conversation with Eric Trump, I've asked him if I could get Laura Trump on here, obviously the co-chair of the Republican National Committee, to have her talk about it, because I've tried to ring that bell too, and to get them to pay attention to that. So I think you're spot on. I think it's an excellent suggestion. It makes sense. Now, as far as your concern about Trump and not being, I don't know for sure, so don't quote all of you legal scholars, all of you RNC experts out there. Call in and correct me at 901-316-8404. Let me know. But I don't think it's a rule that you have to be present at the convention. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he can do a Skype. Maybe he can do a Zoom in. Wouldn't that be interesting on many levels? But I agree with you, Ed. I think they should move it. I really appreciate Ed. And thank you for listening. I'm glad that we got your attention yesterday with Brandon on his show, and I hope to see you around for a long time to come. Alex, what do you think about what we experienced? We've got, about 15 minutes left here. We got some. Do you have time, Alex?
I do have time.
Let's talk about, we're talking about the conservative movement in America. We're up against a break. So if you can hang on, let me just do a real quick break, and we'll be right back here, ladies and gentlemen, with Alex Stone. Thank you very much. Don't forget, DougBillings.us is your destination. Head over to DougBillings.us, support the program over there. Take a look at our new website. We appreciate you very much. Right now, again, another trip into the glorious land of capitalism. I'll be right back after this short break. God bless you. Cheers.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Hello, I'm Brandon House, and I want to tell you about Numi. This is a swish. You just take 2 capfuls, swish it around your mouth for 3 to 4 minutes, and you're absorbing, according to the studies, glutathione. Now, you don't need to take my word for it. There are over 162,000 studies on PubMed on the power of glutathione. It is a powerful molecule that studies show detoxes our cells. Some studies even show that glutathione might remove mercury from our brains, help to prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Now look, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you what the research is showing about the powerful molecule glutathione. Numi is the product that contains glutathione. Melissa and I swish with this twice a day. We urge you to go to Numi.com/house1. That's Numi, Neumi.com/HOWSE and the numeral 1. Begin finding out about the power of glutathione while also supporting this broadcast network. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for joining us from around the planet. We appreciate you very much. DougBillings.us. Head over there. Make sure you support the program. I'm here with Alex Stone, young up-and-coming Christian podcaster, a friend and a brother, almost like a son to me, really. There's DougBillings.us. Look at that. Boy, I'm going to have to get an updated picture, though, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness sakes. Yes, but look at that handsome devil. And look at that great-looking website over there at DougBillings.us. Please head over there. Check us out. Click on that donate button. Help us to continue to bring you the truth. Help us to in all the podcast land, and to bring people such as General Flynn, Eric Trump, Devin Nunes, just to mention a few, Alex Stone, and Bill Eigel later today on the program, and call in and talk with us because we're live, folks. 901-316-8404. There's the number on the screen, and you can choose how to donate to the website over there. So let's bring Alex Stone back on. Alex, you live in Missouri, and I grew up in Missouri, Jackson County. Thank you very much. Jackson County is a suburb of Kansas City, in case you're from Raytown, Missouri, and don't know that. I always poke fun at Raytown. We have in Missouri on paper what is a very red legislature, but we are plagued with this RINO problem. The Republicans in name only who have plagued us and who are impeding us, and you and I know some of the same politicians and so forth. I have said that in order, because people always ask the question, when we talk about rhinos, the question is begged, how do you tell How do you tell what a RINO is? And I've always said there's many ways, first of all, but I've always said the simplest way for me is to just ask the candidate or the person who's already in office, do you believe that there was election integrity issues in 2020 or before? And if that person says no, or they hem or they haw, and they don't really give you an answer, that's a RINO. That is a RINO, and we've got to begin to vet these candidates as true conservatives. So local Republican committee men and women throughout each state, not just Missouri, in every state, they need to gather their resources. And for every candidate that wants to put an R behind their name, they need to be vetted to make sure that they really are Democrats, because we all know, listen, if you don't believe this is happening, you're not thinking. There are people who are Democrats who know that they can't win in the districts they're located, and so they put an R behind their name, they run for office, they get in, and then they end up voting liberal the entire time they're in office. So we've got to deal with that. You've done some work, and you understand this. So am I off base? Am I too far out there? I mean, what are your thoughts on the RINO problem?
No, the RINO problem has been a problem for a very, very, very long time, going back to before George Bush even. I hear this all the time with the silent majority thing that you mentioned a little bit ago. But what we need to do is wake up and stand up and speak up against these RINOs. What a RINO is a Republican in name only, obviously. And they are people who, for a long time, have said, well, it'll just pass. We'll let it be. It'll get better in the future. Well, we've gotten to this point where these RINOs have said it'll get better in the future. It'll just pass. And now President Trump is being convicted of 34 felonies because he goes against the system. That's what happens when we allow RINOs to get into office. It's a very, very deep corruption problem that for some reason people keep voting for RINOs. People don't vet these people for some reason. And we need to begin to vet them very, very closely, very, very clearly, so we can know who we're sending to office and who we need to take out of office. I love the litmus test that you mentioned. If they hem and haw about if there's election integrity issues, that's a RINO. And there are other factors, but that is one of the main ones, because we saw very clearly in 2020 there was election integrity issues in numerous ways in numerous places, and we could go into that deeper, but we don't have to because we already know what's going on. RINOs need to be stopped, and the way that we do that is by putting forth America First candidates for office so that they can go in there, they can help support President Trump, they can help support the Make America Great Again agenda, the America First agenda, and we can win back our country from these commie socialists, as you would say.
We also deal with candidates who on the surface might appear sharp, with it, young, hip, cool, the young up-and-comer, if you will. And we begin to see that a lot of these candidates are shallow and that they really don't have a platform. They're all about clickbait. They're all about making a shocking statement or making a shocking. They begin to say things. And you and I've been doing this for 4 years. We're friends with some of the highest ranking tier 1 patriots in the country. I could give you a list, but 2 of them were on my show last night. And right. We and I know that you know a lot of these same people, and we had an instance over the last couple of days with one of the people in Missouri running for Secretary of State who makes no mention of how she would or what she would do as Secretary of State. There's nothing substantive in her platform or when she's talking in public about what she'll do. Now she'll make an outrageous commercial and an ad and talk about things that are outrageous to get attention and to get clicks. And she's done a marvelous job at that. But when she begins then to attack institutions and so forth that voters, many millions of voters hold dear to them. I mean, I'm a Catholic guy. You know this. You and I have had conversations. And when people call the Catholic Church satanic and all that's nonsense. I mean, we have to stand up against that as Christians and as a community. Now, no church is perfect, and clearly there are problems. I'm be the first to admit it. I'm not a big fan of the current pope, but that doesn't impugn the entire church. And and I challenge her on this, and I put this out there, and then she makes she gives, I guess she makes a she didn't come out and claim it verbatim, but she gave the impression that our friend General Flynn had endorsed her. And I said, really? So I call up General Flynn and said, no, it's not true at all. And we text back and forth, this and that. I throw it up on social media. I invite her to come on the show. I really did. I wanted her to come up. And we've got some graphics of some of these things as this has all gone on. I mean, you save everything. You have to, because you want to be sure that you're able to back things up. See, she says I'm part of the establishment, destroyed Missouri for over 15 years. Never mind that I lived there for over 50 years. But it sounds like you're supporting pedophilia. So she claims that I'm a pedophile. So this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the rubrics of the radical left woke mob. When they're confronted with things that challenge their opinion, they don't want to have an intellectually mature debate. They accuse you of the worst things that you could be. And they begin then to, here's where she says, have faith in me on August 6th. She's insinuating that there was an endorsement there. There was not. I texted, and you can see the next one. I met her, did not endorse her, don't even have a way to contact her, da-da-da-da-da. And so there it is. And so we just have to hold candidates accountable to the truth. I mean, that's all. I invited her to come on the show. I really am sincere. I'm all about helping young candidates. And you were a fan of hers too, Alex. And, yes, and now what do you think?
Well, I met her at America Fest at the very beginning of the end of last year. And I thought she was great. I thought she was going to be like, Missouri's Carrie Lake, but in the Secretary of State position. I thought that. I really did. I had her on my show. I was very supportive of her at first. And I said, if there's anything that you need from me, Valentina, then I'm all yours, right? I will help you. Well, it turns out that her campaign has been nothing more than a bunch of sizzle reels and social media propaganda. And some of the things that she says is good and fine, but her campaign has all been, she's going to defeat the weak and gay woke agenda. Well, how are you going to do that, Valentina? You haven't put forward any agenda that you're actually going to do. You haven't put forward any policy that you want to do. There are a few things on her website that she has. Under the first thing, it says protect democracy, abolish voting machines, activating the National Guard, secure elections. It says deploying the National Guard to oversee Missouri's voting polls is a pragmatic step, ensuring impartiality, deterring interference, and bolstering public confidence in the electoral process. That sounds great, but the Secretary of State has no power to deploy the National Guard over our elections. That's not something that she can do as Secretary of State. She talks about how she wants to burn all the gay books in the libraries, which that's great. We all want that. There's very minimal that she could do as Secretary of State to do that in the libraries. She's running for a spot that she has no idea about. She's 25 years old. She's successful all the way up until this point. And I give her that, but she's running for something that she doesn't know what she's running for. That's what I think, Doug.
She's running for clicks. That's what she's doing. She's running for clicks. She wants to bolster her social media account. Mark McCloskey, who you know lives in St. Louis, the famous, back in the days of the Black Lives Matter riots through St. Louis, he and his wife famously defended their home on the steps with guns, him with an AR-15, I believe. And he's all over her. He's and she's blocking everybody. I mean, we had Truth Hammer Forever on social on X. We have, Mike Flynn Jr. comes in and chimes in and says, hey, what are you saying about Doug? And just go on his show. Nope, she blocks me. She blocks it. So, look, it's not the behavior of a MAGA candidate. I mean, people now say she's a plant. She's a Democrat plant. I don't know. Can't prove any of that. But I can prove what she said about me. I can prove how she's behaved. And so we comment on that. And I invited her to come on the show. But according to her, my audience is not big enough. And yet then she sends a text to a mutual friend and complains about me and demands that I apologize and retract my statements. Now, that's not how MAGA, that's the mantra of the left. When things don't go their way or where they're challenged, they have mental breakdowns and they begin to throw things and break things and demand apologies and retractions. Well, we don't do that.
Doug, you're exactly right. And the things that she's talking about on her social media about how that's, weak and gay, it's weak and gay to block people without even responding to them. I went to X and decided to defend you because we've been friends for 3 or 4 years at this point. And I said, Valentina, you're picking the wrong battle. I've known Doug and General Flynn for 3 years. Doug has been a faithful brother in Christ to me, a good friend, and someone who is fighting to uphold the Republic. I have seen the numbers that Doug has. He does indeed have 3 million people listening to him. I know for a fact that Doug and General Flynn have been friends for 4 years, and that General Flynn supports Doug without a shadow of a doubt. Doug is not establishment. Why are you choosing to fight this battle? And instead of responding to me and giving a response, she decides to block me, and she decides to block you, and she decides to block a couple of the people that commented on my post about it. And then I'm not sure if she responded to Mike Flynn Jr. or not, but my bet is that she'll probably block him as well. She keeps talking about this weak and gay thing. I think it's weak and gay to block people who are trying to have civil conversation with you.
Well said and well met, my friend. Like I said, one of the most articulate young up-and-coming podcasters out there. Ladies and gentlemen, please check out, follow, subscribe, like, love, and everything else. Alex Stone. One more time, Alex, where can we find you?
Yes, please find me on X at StoneJAlex, and also find me on Rumble, The Alex Stone Show. I'm having some pretty good interviews lined up for this weekend in Detroit at Turning Point USA's event, so be looking forward to those.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, up against another break. Here we are. Wow, time flies. Remember, DougBillings.us. I'm going to say it all the time. DougBillings.us. Go out and check out the beauty, the splendor of the new website and support us. Thanks also for looking out for Spreely TV and WorldviewTube.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back after this. Take care. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now, and we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for joining us from around the planet, where with every move I take and every breath I take, I'm saving the Republic along with you. We stand shoulder to shoulder, ladies and gentlemen, across the Republic as we begin to engage in our local levels. That is how we do it. It's how we win. It's how we take back the country from the radical left woke mob, this cascade of chaos that they purposefully, by the way, have thrust upon us. This is not accidental. Everything that we're experiencing in this nightmare is on purpose. It has been done on purpose. And I mean, we could begin with the border. We could begin with inflation, food prices, gas prices, the chaos in the support of Ukraine, all of it. And we know that this radical left commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is no longer a pro-America. They never really were pro-America political party. But we've got to begin to say these things out loud. We've got to begin saying and talking about, especially if we feel called to serve in the elected class in this country. We've got to be brave enough to talk about this blending of communism and socialism that the Democrats have engaged upon, the blending of radical, immoral concepts for, their pathway to happiness. Oh, it's okay, Johnny. It's okay, Jenny. If you don't feel happy with the God-given gender that you have, that's all right. Let's just mutilate your genitalia. That's what transgenderism is. It's gruesome, and those words are gruesome, but they need to be said, and they especially need to be said by people who are running for office. Too many foreign countries buying United States farmland or any kind of land. Balloons, spy balloons flying over our republic. I mean, illegal immigration. I mean, we can go on and on, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, but, Europe in a mess because of their immigration policies. France, Germany, Spain, Italy to a degree, their sense of nationalism is evaporating because they've let so many illegals come in. And that's precisely and part of the motivation and the platform, the politics, and the policies of the radical left in our country. Well, I have news for you. There's one gentleman from Missouri, and I said this at the beginning of the show. I'm going to say it now. He is a template for what an American conservative elected class member should be. He currently serves in the Missouri Senate. He's running for the governorship of the state of Missouri, my home state. And he is the template for wherever you live in this country. If you're looking for a conservative governor template, Bill Eigel is your man. Bill, welcome to The Right Side.
Hey, Doug. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Boy, it's good to have you. We've seen each other out on the road several times this election cycle. I've been to the Topeka. I've seen you in action. You are, again, one of the most gifted public speakers out there. It's always tough following you on the stump, but you do, and I mean what I just said. I really do. I don't just say these things because we have a guest coming on. We got to say nice things about Bill Eigel. You have lit it up. You're honest, you're forthright, and all of the things I said, I think you would agree. I mean, you would comment on these things: the land by foreign countries, the immigration problem that we face, Missouri's specific problems. On paper, we look great. We should be red. We should get everything that we want done from a conservative perspective, but we're plagued by a RINO problem, and you speak very eloquently on all of that. We're opening this up. There are people, if they're out there and they want to call in, 901-316-8404. Have a conversation with Bill Eigel and myself, 901-316-8404. And in the meantime, Bill, I'm going to let you respond to everything that I just said. What are your thoughts?
Well, Doug, I think that that I'm going to be very supportive and in strong agreement with you. We're on a path in this country and in every state in the union that leads to disaster. We have politicians in our capital, our state capitals, and our national capital that are basically selling us out on behalf of a status quo in those capitals that couldn't care less what actual Americans are going through or what government ought to be doing to protect their rights instead of growing government. And I hate to say this, but in Ruby Red, Missouri, the problem is even worse. We have a horde of RINOs down in Jefferson City. They refuse to acknowledge what actually happened during the election in 2020, that the swamp ultimately got their guy in, and that Donald Trump was denied that. They refuse to lower the tax burden so that we can compete with the other big red states that have already figured out that if you want to attract business and innovation, you have to lower the tax burden and not tax businesses into oblivion. We actually have we have a guy, one of my competitors actually voted as a member of the state Senate in 2013 to allow for the sale of our farmland to go to China or any other country. So as I've been traveling the state, and I put more than 70,000 miles on my truck in the past 2 years, I'm finding a lot of Republicans that are very disappointed, that are very frustrated, quite frankly, that they're very angry. And they're looking for that disruptor of the status quo, precisely just like Donald J. Trump is winning the country on the message of being a disruptor for Washington, D.C. Folks in Missouri want that same disruptor to really lead us to this conservative future down in Jefferson City. So I've really just been tapping into the same desire for Missouri that the voters of this state show up every 2 years on the first Tuesday in November and demand. And the only reason that we haven't gotten is because we've got too many spineless, weak-kneed Republicans down in Jefferson City. I've been the guy for the past 8 years in the state Senate that hasn't been afraid to name the names and point out where the deficiencies lie. But my hope is, as governor of this state, I'm going to be calling on that legislature to actually start doing the things that we only hear about in campaign season. And by the way, if you look at the other big red states, Doug, it's not that those states like Florida and Texas or Tennessee don't have their own RINO problem. It's not that they don't have RINOs in their legislature or they don't have the presence of a moderate here and there that, if given half an opportunity, would absolutely betray the GOP brand. But what those states do have that a state like Missouri does not have is a bold conservative leader that is holding them accountable from the governor's mansion. And so when you have a Ron DeSantis or a Greg Abbott down there in Texas leading those legislatures, it's a lot more difficult for the RINOs to hide. Well, the special interest in Jefferson City has made it very comfortable for them. But on August 6th of this year, that's going to come to an end.
Hey, man, I love it when you say that we're going to overtake Texas and Florida with regards to our conservative approach. Love it. I love it. And I believe it. I do. When we talk about the RINO problem, and I was talking with the guest that we had on earlier, Alex Stone, we look at the RINO issue. I want your thoughts on this. I'm just going to tell you my opinion first, and I'll let you respond with your own. But in Missouri and in every state, quite frankly, there are people who, because they know they cannot win in the districts that they're in as a Democrat, so they put an R behind their name and they go and they run and they win and they vote liberal all the way through in every legislative session. We know that. To deny that is just the height of intellectual immaturity. We know that happens. And so one of the ways that we've come up, and especially in Missouri, we have Republican committee men and women throughout the state who have been pushing and implementing this vetting process where candidates are vetted by these Republican committees, and to earn the right to put the R behind their name. Now, members of the establishment freak out. Oh, no, that's terrible. We can't have any of that. You're stealing away our rights. We're not going to submit. Well, that's, again, evidence of RINO-dom right there. So what are your thoughts on the vetting process, and do you agree, and what's the proper thing to do there?
Well, Doug, I 100% agree with the idea of a vetting process. I mean, the things that hold us together as a Republican Party are our principles, our ideas. It's not just the word Republican or words that begin with the letter R. It is our principles, our idea in this thing called limited government, this belief that was actually passed down from the founding fathers that we should have efficient government that should be as small as possible. Well, we've got away from that in Missouri, and so this conversation about vetting candidates and making sure that you're getting the right Republicans is actually very natural. There's an old saying in politics that says that the party out of power wants power, but the party in power wants purity. And Republicans have been in charge now in Missouri for more than 2 decades. And as folks are looking around, asking themselves, well, what are we getting for electing all these supermajorities of Republicans? There's a lot to not be happy with. We couldn't get initiative petition reform over the finish line this year to protect our Constitution from the abortionists that are coming in and trying to enshrine the culture of death up to the point of birth in the Missouri Constitution. We couldn't get major tax cuts done in the Missouri General Assembly, and it wasn't because the Democrats have the numbers to stop those things from happening. It happened because we have RINOs that were too weak-kneed to actually push them through, and we have a governor that's been absent on this and many other issues for his entire term in office. So I think folks are really looking for candidates to be vetted. The vetting process that you mentioned, I've been through that vetting process. I remember but the morning I had to go not only have an examination of my voting record in the state Senate for the past 8 years, but I had to sit for a multiple choice test that really fleshed out what some of my beliefs were. And I remember leaving the house, and the last thing my wife Amanda said to me is, "You better pass." So I went down there and come to find out, I am a Republican. Now, we joke, and I think we've known that for a while, but I think these vetting processes are the right step. It's only going to become more of the norm for central committees to step in and really vet their candidates. And I ultimately think that's going to produce a better Republican Party, which has been chosen by the people to lead this state, and that's going to mean better outcomes for the Show Me State.
All right, not quite done with you yet, but I do want to give you a chance before we continue on talking here. Where can people find you, Bill?
BillEigel.com. It's my website. We've got all sorts of great videos, my planks, my policy positions, my planks having to do with not just protecting our farmland from being bought out by foreign countries, but I can't believe this, Doug. I'm the only candidate that has come out and been willing to say that if I'm the governor of this state, we're going to declare an invasion under Article 4 of our Constitution, and we're going to detain and deport every single illegal in the state of Missouri. I'm the only candidate that is talking about getting rid of these Joe Biden voting machines that nobody trusts in our elections. I'm the only candidate talking about getting some of the worst examples of taxation in the state of Missouri, personal property tax, income tax. I can't believe that I'm the only candidate taking these positions, and yet that's where we're at, because the only thing that's standing in between Missourians and the Missouri that they have been asking for every 2 years is a couple of my establishment competitors in this primary.
What does that? Okay, I agree with that. I think that's great. What does it look like? So declaring that invasion, and I assume day one or shortly thereafter of your governorship, what does that look like? Give us an idea of what does it look like?
So basically right now, I mean, we're estimated to have about 70,000 illegals in the state of Missouri right now. The number, and if we're being honest, the number could actually be quite a bit more than that, because we're not really sure. Joe Biden has had the border open for almost 4 years now, and we've had millions come across and go to every state in the union. But the latest estimate has it right around 70,000. And right now, a lot of our sheriffs around the state, a lot of our highway patrolmen, our National Guard, they know where these individuals are at, but what they lack is authority to actually detain these individuals, much less move these individuals beyond the borders of the state. Well, under the Missouri Constitution, under Article 4 in our Constitution, the governor can declare an invasion of the sovereign state of Missouri, and that will actually activate and grant authority to the sheriffs of this state, the highway patrol, the National Guard, if necessary, to detain these individuals for being here illegally and remove them from the borders of the state. So, Doug, you've heard me talk about many times about all the extra money and surpluses we have down in Jefferson City. I'm the guy that's committed to spending some of that money on a fleet of buses that if I have to drive the buses myself, those folks are not going to be allowed to remain in the state illegally.
We were just in Perryville, Missouri last weekend. I raised my hand. I want to be one of the bus drivers. I really do. I do. How is the campaign? I mean, give me, you're running against, a lot of folks, and I know that one of your key competitors has a lot of name recognition, current Secretary of State, but I got to tell you, he will not say publicly that there's been election integrity issues in the state of Missouri or in the nation as a whole, and there's still these damn machines in Missouri that have been not dealt with, so it just befuddles me. Nice enough guy, but look, we're beyond the point of putting up with nice guys. We've got to get the work done, and allowing the machines and not admitting there's a problem is not the solution.
Yeah. So, Doug, when we started this 2 years ago, I think that you probably heard the same thing that I was hearing from Jefferson City, which was, hey, Bill Eigel's not going to have the name ID that his opponents will have, and Bill Eigel's not going to have the same special interest money that some of his opponents will have. What they weren't expecting, though, is that I've got the message and the vision of that future Missouri that Missourians are buying into. So I remember when we first started this conversation 2 years ago, we actually took a poll. And of course, I'm a state senator. I only represent 3% of the state. And I think that in that first initial poll 2 years ago, we were losing by more than 30 points because of those items that you just mentioned. But I tell you what, we set out. We've been working hard. Like I said, we put 70,000 miles on my truck talking about this Missouri where we're going to get rid of those machines. There's no reason that we can't go back to the hand counting of ballots. We're going to get rid of personal property tax. A lot of people don't realize that Missouri is one of the few states in the nation where we have to pay property tax on cars. So the same property tax you normally pay on your house, Missouri is one of those states you got to pay that on your car too. So we're going to get rid of that personal property tax on vehicles. We're going to be the one that's the state is leading this country in getting rid of the illegal immigrants and moving them outside the borders of the state, taking them back to the port of entry that they came from and having them denied entry to the country from there. that message, this vision of Missouri, where we're also protecting our children. You mentioned before I came on air, protecting our children from this transgender industry that's trying to mutilate them and profit to the tune of millions of dollars off literally the blood of our children. We're going to put a stop to that in the state of Missouri. And what I found is beyond whatever your last name is, beyond how much money you have in the bank, for these positions, governor, U.S. senator, people want to know what you're going to do. Who are you going to be? What is your vision for the state of Missouri? And they have really responded to my message. And now, in spite of where we started, now with just 2 months to go before the primary, without spending any major resources, our campaign has gained so much momentum that we've nearly shrunk the lead down to the margin of error. So nobody expected this, but we continually take Jefferson City by surprise because their only message against me is a bunch of lobbyists and special interests in Jefferson City saying, you can never make it and you can never get to that Missouri, and it's better off not fighting because we've got the establishment candidates for you. Well, folks are angry. They're ready to kick some apple carts over in Jefferson City, and I think there's going to be a big surprise for Jefferson City come August 6th because nobody in the capital city is prepared for a Bill Eigel administration because they're the ones that are going to lose out on that, not the people of this state.
I cannot wait for that day. August 6th coming up is your primary. I want to make, again, ladies and gentlemen, BillEigel.com. Please head over there. Look, you don't have to live in Missouri to follow this guy and like the guy. Like I said, he's the template for the office of governor throughout the country. This is the kind of guy you want. This is what you want your governor candidates to be saying. Those of you that are true America first in your own, insert your state, Missouri in this case, first, Missouri first, America first, whatever. This is the template. You're seeing it and you're hearing it right here in front of you. BillEigel.com, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, look, you know this. It goes without saying. I'm always at your service. You've got my support. If there's anything that we can do over here, just let us know. And good luck. I'll give you the final word.
Doug, I'm just happy to be here. Last word I would leave, this is for everyone listening. I'm a man of God, and I believe that God's got a plan for each of us. And we started 2 years ago on this journey and this fight. And when folks are telling me, they're pushing back on me saying, hey, can you make it? Will you have enough money under your name ID? I always tell them, don't be afraid of the message that we can't win because Missouri is worth it. And I always quote one of my favorite Bible verses, and that's Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, where he said, have I not commanded thee, do not be bold and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you shall go. Let's go, Missouri.
Let's go, Missouri, and let's go, Bill Eigel. Ladies and gentlemen, BillEigel.com. Head on over there to support Bill. We'll be on the road again, I'm sure, soon in the future. I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Doug. Have a great night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be right back. I would like to remind you, though, Bidenomics wreaking havoc on our ability to provide the basics for necessity, basics of life, food prices, gas prices. Yeah, they're bragging about the stock market. That's fine. But who among us can be nourished by the stock market on a daily basis? We look at inflation, record highs. We're losing money. We can't afford to put food on the table. I mean, I'm right there with you. I see it happening every day. LiveYoungerWithDoug.us. LiveYoungerWithDoug.us. Head over there, get information. All we're going to do is give you information about how you could possibly turn a product that will help you feel younger, look younger, behave younger, feel great, more rested. Those afternoon tireds that we sometimes get. I don't know if you're like me, but in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock, you're doing the head bob, right? At your office, at your desk, you're tired. There's a patch that will reignite your own body's stem cells, that will give you energy, sustenance, reduce inflammation, and so forth. Go and get this information because it can, if you're interested, help you earn money by being a sponsor and an affiliate of this product. An extra $500 a month is easy with this thing. LiveYoungerWithDoug.us. Head over there and we'll just give you some information and you prayerfully consider it. All right, I'll be right back right after these messages. Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.
twc.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. twc.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member, because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
With Doug Billings, thanks for joining us. Where evidence of the obvious is sufficient, liberals are intellectually immature. That's your tip for the day. Your pro tip for the day, ladies and gentlemen. They are, no doubt about it, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. Vastly liberals. I love to point out the intellectual immaturity of liberals. And you can call in and talk with me live if you want to, 901-316-8404. We have a caller on the line from California, Carrie. She was apparently watching and listening to the show last night. She wants to ask something about AI. So full disclosure, I am no expert on AI, but we're going to talk with Carrie. Carrie, how are you? And welcome to The Right Side.
I'm doing good, and I don't know very much either. But what kind of started me going is last week they had the Reawaken tour, and there was a guy on, and I cannot for the life of me get back on. I follow them all on Rumble. But there was a guy that went into detail about the quantum system. I don't know if it's called the quantum system, the quantum computing system, and is that connected to Nasara, Gasara? Is that good or bad? Is it connected with the dollar? Is it connected? I'm just needing just a basic. And another thing, are we in this system right now?
What show, what platform are you watching this on?
It was the Reawaken tour, and there was a guy. I can't find it.
That's all right if you don't remember. That's fine. Yeah, So I'm gonna be brutally honest, like I always am. So I have evolved since I started this show 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so prior to that, was in corporate America, like many people. COVID hits, one thing leads to another. I decide I'm out of corporate America, and so I start the show. In the beginning, I listened to a lot of people, had a lot of people on this program. Simon Parks, who actually I like, but Simon Parks, Charlie Ward, some of these people, as I matured and I became enlightened, some of these people are not exactly, I'm going to be gentle and I'm going to be nice because that's what we conservatives do. I'm not going to just blatantly call them kooks, but perhaps I just did. But they don't steer us in directions. There's a whole swath of people, for example, in the beginning when I was starting my show that said President Trump is still the president and the military is in charge of the country. Well, that is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And it takes people off the battlefield. And Carrie, you're obviously one of the intellectually mature ones. You get it. I mean, I can tell. The one thing about conservatives is you can put them in a lineup in front of you, or you can hear them, and 9 times out of 10, you can tell who's really a conservative, who's not, who's with it, and who's not. So I can tell that you're with it. But this kind of nonsense was permeating through our movement, and it was never any good. It was always designed for clicks. People that got clicks got paid, and they wanted to put the outrageous out there. And I admit, I had Charlie Ward on a couple of times until he told me that the real Joe Biden was executed for war crimes 3 years ago. As soon as I heard that,
true. Yep.
It's not true. No, not at all true. Not even close.
Yep.
So I couldn't have him on the show anymore because that kind of nonsense doesn't help anybody. Now, I did have a friendly banter with Simon Parks, and although some people out there claim he's crazy, I actually enjoyed our conversations. But he's not on the show anymore because it's a realm that I don't want to get into.
Right.
And so the Nasara Jazara thing was part of that realm where I just thought it was kookville, and I just didn't get into it. Now, I am not saying that it's right or wrong, and I can't because I don't know, but I just it doesn't smell right to me, and it just reeks of craziness. So I don't know. As far as AI goes, we've got to be very careful with it. I think, Elon Musk, you can think what you want to about him. I think there's some good things about him. I think there's some crazy things about him.
Totally.
Yeah. But I think he's right with regards to we've got to be careful with AI. We can't just rush into this and let it loose. So what do you think? Okay, having heard what I just said there, Carrie, out in California, what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's because I run a business. I have my own business, and I never closed but a week. And we almost tripled our business in 2020, 2021, and then it started getting kind of creepy around 2022. Mm-hmm. And we know why. The bottom line is I worry all the time if the banks can just turn around and take our money. I'm always worried about that because I live it. I give my money to Chase. I take credit cards, and then so now I got something on my merchant services that says 110 days, and then the next day I show up to work and it says 109 days. It's going to change or whatever like that. So I called the bank up. They can't give me a straight answer if you paid them $1 million. They see a young girl on the other end goes, "Oh, I really just don't know anything about it. Don't worry about it." I said, "Oh, really? You're going to take my money in 109 days? And I'm not going to see it, and then I have to get into your system, and that's not going to fly by me." So I see the things that are happening. I notice things on my statements. They don't want you to have statements, so I'm old-fashioned. I have statements. I've noticed that when I do make a payment online now, oh my gosh, you make a payment on your credit card. They used to not be able to tell you that it couldn't, they used to tell you that they couldn't, just a second, let me press this, that, oh, now you have
that must be Gavin Newsom calling you.
Yeah. Oh, God. So what I'm saying is I'm seeing things of this one world system. I do know that they're trying to do it. I'm not stupid to it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just
No,
wondering,
I agree with that.
Can it just poof and just show up without us knowing it?
So I do have a few comments about that, Carrie. So have you ever heard of the term CBDC, the central bank digital currency?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm worried every day about it.
Yeah, so that's a problem. That's a real big problem. We should all be concerned about that because they can flip on and off our access. And you obviously, you know this. And so they can flip on or off our access to our money. If they were watching this show, and if I happen to be a customer of this and involved with the CBDC, the central bank digital currency system, hey, that Billings and Carrie from California, listen to these. We got to find them. Let's trace their numbers. Let's find them and cut off their money. Let's switch off the switch and because they don't like our platform. They don't like what we're talking about. Yeah, that's a big deal, and that's in the works. I mean, a couple of years ago, the banking crisis. Remember all the banks that were just all of a sudden going out of business, and that's not accidental. None of this chaos that we see.
No, none of it is.
Yeah, it's all designed to get us to panic and move towards the CBDC system and the New World Order. Klaus Schwab, Noah Yuval Harari, all of these people are out, and the Bill Gates Foundation, all of it. It's all part of it. And Carrie, you're smart to bring these things up, and you're with it. You're obviously part of the intellectually mature audience that we want to have call in. What else? Anything else on your mind?
Gold. Is it good to buy gold? And how does that work with our money system? Like, is it going to be something safe to do?
Yeah, gold is good. I wish that I had a gold guy. I actually, if you go to Beverly Hills Gold.
I know.
You know that? Yeah, but it's good. And you now I know people think, well, you got to have a lot of money to do that. No, not really. You don't. A lot of people have a 401k plan. I know not everybody does, You can divest. I'm not saying put all of your money, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor. But I personally believe, my opinion is that yes, gold is a good thing, and silver to diversify your portfolio. I really do. Now, people are going to have various opinions about that, and perhaps experts out there listening will call in. But that's my opinion.
Let me ask you one more question. I hate to do this.
All right,
do you
Carrie.
feel we're going to have an election this year?
I do. I think I don't buy into the panic about it being canceled. They may well try to throw another pandemic at us and this and that. I think America is more resilient and stable than we sometimes think that she is. There are things that are too big to happen. If we didn't have an election, I can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine. People out there, and again, a lot of people on our side, on the right side, tend to think maybe there won't be. I know tier 1 level patriots who are reasonable people who have mentioned that, and they entertain the idea. Well, I can see the possibility of that. I cannot see any scenario that would play out in America, even though the radical left Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, have purposefully cascaded this chaos upon us. Beginning with COVID and all the way up till today. I think that they are all about chaos. I think they think chaos drives more people to the government because they want the government to take care of them, but they're wrong. Chaos drives more people to self-sufficiency, and chaos drives more people to the conservative side, because conservatives, as a rule and in general, don't panic when things don't go their way. You'll notice the difference between liberals and conservatives when things don't go their way. When things don't go the way liberals want them to go, they have rocks and pallets of stones delivered to street corners, so they begin to riot and commit anarchy when things don't go their way. Now, conservatives don't do that. We respond, usually with prayer first, and then we reflect, we look at what's going on, and then we take peaceful action, and we grace ourselves with the gift of patience. Why? Because we know in adversity and challenge and nightmare like we're going through now, that blessings are there waiting to be born, even though we don't see them. And even though it's difficult, think about anything that may have happened in your own personal life, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's death of a loved one, whether it's divorce, whatever. When tragedy strikes, we know that there are blessings waiting to be born on the other side. And even the death of a loved one, even a divorce, things of the most tragic things you can imagine, as time goes by and as you look back through that experience, you can see that blessings have been born from that. And we conservatives understand that. So that's why we don't riot. We don't commit anarchy. Now, we can do better. Conservatives typically don't also get involved in their local levels. And that's why we're here. The radical left did get involved. They got involved in their local levels and they took over. And you'll notice, Carrie, that the radical left did not come to power by not having elections. They didn't come to power by riots. They came to power because people on their side got involved. And we conservatives are now waking up to that truth. And that's how we're going to reclaim power. We're not going to reclaim it by having Nuremberg 2.0 and throwing people into Gitmo. We're going to hold people accountable, and there will be justice, but we're not going to have this nonsense that some people are throwing out there. We work to take over the government from within, and more of us, there are more of us than them, and we're going to take it back peacefully and with our involvement, just as the founding fathers demanded it. I'll give you the last word, Carrie.
Well, that was very well said. Prayer and the power, we have a lot of power in our hands, and you're right, we are weak because we never get involved, but I go to my council meetings all the time. So, and they're pretty conservative. We've only got one one Democrat, but they've caused a lot of problems already. But thank you so much. I think you gave me something to think about here.
Well, good for you. I'm glad, Carrie. That's what we're all about. We're in this together, my friend. And
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for waking up and being involved. God bless you. Take care out there in California.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. So what, isn't that great? It's people like Carrie. That was nice because there's millions of you out there that are like Carrie, who are waking up, they're getting involved, they think, they watch the news, they're trying to discern what's the truth and what's not, who are the kooks and who's not. And we're all in this together. And I don't besmirch anybody. I mentioned there are people out there at the beginning of our movement who who said that, military is in charge and this and that, and Trump is still the president. And it was always nonsense, but they're always welcome back. They just have to step in off the ledge of Kookville and come back into reality. And it's my sense of humor. I don't mean to insult anybody, but that's what we need to do. We need to educate people to come back to reality, because it's only within reality that we're going to save the republic. So those are my thoughts on all of that. I think that the radical left will have a feeding frenzy on a lot of things that come their way. They're loving the Trump, felony verdict, although it's temporary. They're loving it. They're loving it a lot. And I think that when we look at this in hindsight, after the new year, the appeals process, Trump is going to be vindicated on every single one of the cases that he's facing. And that's what we have to do. We have to give ourselves permission to believe in these things and take action. I am not at all advocating blind faith. I think that we only save the republic if we get involved. We get involved in our local levels and we take over. I spoke a little bit about that last night, but I talk about it often, actually, about our involvement. I think that it will be interesting to see how the radical left will respond when President Trump is vindicated, because he will then be known as, instead of the felon, former President felon Trump, he'll be known as the falsely accused and vindicated President Trump. But you can count on the fact that the radical left will never call him that. Never, ever. So, but that is exactly what President Trump is. He is the falsely accused, soon to be vindicated president. Post it everywhere. Have faith in it. It's going to happen. He may have setbacks in lower courts, as we've experienced. But as those things go through the appellate process, he will be vindicated. And the Communist Socialist Party, formerly known as Democrats, making other decisions that they're giving up efforts on this battlefront. You can look at, how do I know that they're giving up, and how do I know that they know that President Trump is gaining the upper hand? I want you to look at what's going on with regards to their talking heads. Lawfare has failed them. They've thrown everything they can at Trump. Now, they may well put him in jail. Don't be surprised. You heard me. If you were listening earlier in the program today, I predicted it. They're going to put him in jail. Why would the radical left mob, after all this time and after all this effort that they've gone through, just let it go at this point? And constitutional attorney Chris Ann Hall, she's out there on social media, and she's absolutely right. It's as if Judge Merchant was actually trying to position this verdict and that trial so that it could be appealed. So many mistakes being made, so many more. And the lawfare is backfiring on it. But that doesn't mean that he is going to escape jail time. I wouldn't put it past him. Now, if they don't give him jail, great. But I wouldn't put it past them, ladies and gentlemen. So the radical left is a tyrannical mob. They have dedicated the last 8+ years to get President Trump, to take him out of the race, off the ballot. You've all seen this. They don't want him eligible to be dog catcher. And they want to break him financially. Oh, but Doug, he's a billionaire. You can't break a billionaire. Yes, you can, ladies and gentlemen. No amount of money on this earth is unlimited. And billionaires can be ruined. And they would love it if they could do that to President Trump. Lawfare, the stuff that he's going through cost millions upon millions. He's probably spent hundreds of millions of dollars since this lawfare began. And so it adds up. But there's no way, I think, that they're going to abandon all of these efforts. I think they really want to embarrass President Trump. They want to corral him. And ultimately, they want to be able to say they put a former president in jail. And isn't that a sad commentary for any goal of any political party? Why would anyone think that they're going to stop? But watch out. Because if they do put him in jail, as I mentioned, we need to amass in peaceful numbers. And I mean by the millions. So all of you out there who plan these things, who want to get Trump parades put together, which is great, and keep on doing that. If you plan these things, plan for whenever that verdict, whenever that jail sentence is announced. Off the top of my head, I forget the exact date of the sentencing, July 11th or so maybe. But look for it, plan to be in New York. And let's support President Trump by the millions. What a sign it would be. 1 million+ people peacefully standing in the streets of New York, singing the national anthem and God Bless America. It would be quite the sign, peacefully. And we will usher that man into the White House again. If they do it, it will only increase the martyrdom, the political martyrdom that President Trump has already experienced because of these verdicts. And they know that they're losing. You look at the state of Georgia, for example. The Democratic National Committee has pulled out their resources for Georgia. They're not spending any money in Georgia because Georgia has gone for Trump. Trump is surging in the polls. Do not believe for a moment the talking heads on social media or in the legacy news that dare to say or suggest that Biden is surging in the polls. That's utter nonsense. Trump up nationally about 6 to 7%. In the battleground states, he's up. He is certainly up in Georgia, and they've not the Democrat Party not even funding any kind of resistance over there. So the intellectual immaturity that's out there on the other side is immense, and it's vast. And we have the truth. We will speak it, and you can find it right here on this program. Don't forget that. We know that when people on the left, and I said it, when things don't go their way, beware, be careful. Because once he's vindicated, once he's not in danger of being in jail, there will be riots, especially in the blue states. But that's not the way that we accomplish our goals. We don't do it. No one of a sound mind believes that a riot is a productive way to arrive at Christian-based and conservative outcomes. It's not what we do. The great reawakening of God's divine providence in this republic has reminded us that in order for us to affect change in our country and in our lives, we're going to have to get involved in our local community, our local county government levels. We're going to have to do it. It's what I call determined patriotism. We have to be determined in it, and it's hard work. It's not easy. I often say on the show, we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism. Our prayer must be determined just as our patriotism must be determined. We've got to get out there and get involved. Look at the radical left. I remind you again, they did not obtain power by rioting and anarchy. I admit that after they got power, they did those things. But they didn't do those things to get power. The radical left got involved in their local levels of government. That's how they came to be in power, and that's how they came to affect all of the chaos that has been purposefully thrust upon us. So school boards, news media, universities, county commissions, mayors, aldermen, state Congress, state Senate, we need to pay attention. And we need to do the hard work of determined patriotism. We conservatives don't riot. That wasn't us on January 6th. That was Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And they were engaging as MAGA, disguising themselves as MAGA members, and they were committing anarchy. I need you to believe that. Why was it that Nancy Pelosi's daughter had a film crew? They were filming the documentary as it happened right in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, believe all of this. Head over to DougBillings.us. See us over there. Subscribe, donate. DougBillings.us. Until next time, God bless you. Believe it for the Republic. Cheers.